Another incredible week of Zoom! Today we'll be zooming in and out of the second book of the Bible, the book of Exodus. We're going to zoom in really close and look at some different stories in Exodus. We're also going to zoom out and look at what the entire book of Exodus shows us about God.
Before we zoom in and out though, we have to answer our family question. What's the longest trip you've ever taken? And where did you go and what did you do? Pause the video, share with your family.
The word Exodus means what it sounds like, to exit or leave. Preston just exodused the room. Which this makes complete sense because the book of Exodus is all about the biggest, most spectacular exit the world has ever known.
And here's the really fun part. As we look at the book of Exodus today, we're gonna play a game called Zoom. Here's how it works. I'm gonna show you a picture of something really close up. Every few seconds, the picture will zoom out a little bit until we can see the whole thing. When you think you know what it is, shout out the answer. Ready for our first zoom?
It's a brick. Last week we learned how the Israelites moved to Egypt to escape the famine and find food. After being in Egypt for 400 years, the Israelite family had grown huge, and the new Pharaoh became so scared that they were too powerful, so he made the Israelites into slaves. He forced them to work all day long, making bricks for their buildings. It was terrible. Are you ready for another zoom?
I think so. It's a bush. One day, a man named Moses was taking care of his sheep when he saw a burning bush. It was weird. The bush was on fire, but it wasn't burning up. Moses moved closer to check it out. God spoke to him through the bush. He told Moses to go to Pharaoh and tell him, "Let my people go." And even though Moses was totally scared, he agreed to do it. Okay, get ready for the next round.
It's a frog. When Moses told Pharaoh to let the Israelites go, Pharaoh just laughed and said, "No way, dude." So God sent 10 terrible plagues to destroy Egypt. For one of the plagues, he made frogs cover the entire land. Preston, what were the other plagues?
There was the Nile River turning into blood, gnats, flies, livestock dying, boils, hail, locusts, and darkness.
Great job. Even though the plagues had almost destroyed Egypt, the Pharaoh still wouldn't let the Israelites go. So God sent the last horrible plague. The oldest son of every Egyptian family died. When Pharaoh saw what had happened, he finally agreed to let God's people go. All right, get ready. Here comes the next round of Zoom.
Yeah! It's money! On their way out of Egypt, God caused the Egyptian people to give the Israelites silver and gold. But then Pharaoh changed his mind about letting the Israelites go. He and his soldiers chased the Israelites all the way to the Red Sea. It looked like the Israelites were in big trouble. But at the last minute, God divided the water and split the Red Sea into two. The Israelites walked across the dry ground, but when the Egyptians chased after them, the water crashed down and destroyed every last soldier. Ready for the next Zoom? Let's go.
It's a cactus. On the other side of the Red Sea, the Israelites traveled through the hot desert. When they needed food, God caused bread and quail to fall from the sky. When they needed water, God caused water to pour out of rocks. And when they needed directions, God gave them a pillar of fire and a pillar of smoke to follow. And when they needed rules, God gave the Israelites the 10 Commandments to follow. God gave the Israelites everything they needed. But guess what? They still complained. And because of their complaining, God made the Israelites wander around in the desert for 40 years.
Now it's time to answer our big Bible story question. What do you think the book of Exodus shows us about God? And why do you think the Israelites complained, even though God provided them with everything they needed? So answer that question now. Pause the video and talk to your family. Whoa, 40 years of walking around in the desert? Now that's a long trip. Have you ever noticed all the things you need with you when you take a long trip? Money, maps, food, and water, and much, much more.
Yeah, in Exodus, the Israelites needed all of these things and way more. But who do you think is the one that provided for them?
God.
Absolutely.
God provided the Israelites with the money they needed by causing the Egyptians to give them gold and silver.
God provided the Israelites with direction by giving them the pillar of fire and smoke.
God provided the Israelites with food and water by making bread and quail fall from the sky and having water poured out of rocks.
God did so much more too. God provided a leader by giving them Moses. He provided a way out by sending the plagues. He provided rules through the 10 Commandments.
The book of Exodus shows us that God has the power to provide for all of our needs. In fact, that's what our Bible verse is for today. And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:19.
How many of your needs will God meet?
All of your needs.
Isn't that amazing? God has the power to provide, so we can trust that He will give us all that we need. He provides for our physical needs by giving us food and shelter. He provides our relational needs by giving us friends and family. He provides all our emotional needs by giving us strength and courage, but best of all, God provides for our spiritual needs by giving us Jesus. In the same way that God helped the Israelites escape from Egypt and led them to the amazing new home in the Promised Land, God helps us escape from our sin and leads us to our amazing new home in heaven with Him. Because of Jesus, we can now be with God forever.
I am so thankful for Jesus. Please spend time and reflect of your Go Home guide. Pray it, journal it, read it, and draw it.
We can't wait to be with you next week as we zoom into
The book of Leviticus.